What is going on, everyone? This is JABO, your pit stop quick one-stop shop for all things NASCAR and other sports that are just a bit outside. I'm your host, Brendan Bryan, and let's get started with grades. That's right, the season is over and grades are due for the 2024 season. A little late, but that's how bureaucracy works. Let's take a look at the NASCAR Truck Series and see who impressed and who Corey LaJoyed. All of these grades are up to my discretion, so they are definitely 100% universally correct. Let's have some fun and get started today with the back of the pack.
Boo! You stink!
First, we're just going to start with the flunkers. You know who these people are, the dunces, in the shows. They make the spitballs and the straws and they spit them at the teacher or whatever. This is who we're talking about. But we're not even talking about the people who attended every race this season. We're talking about the ditchers, the people who couldn't even make every class or every race this season. And first, right at the bottom, we're starting off with Connor Jones. I mean, he's not the worst statistical driver, but, he's close at least. He's not only here for his poor performance in ThorSport equipment, man, that's a mouthful, but he's also here for his one egregious sin on the year, something I honestly haven't seen in a while because of how safe the race cars are these days. But he is here for purposefully wrecking fellow competitor Matt Mills at Miami, and the ensuing crash injured Mills, and Jones' immediate response and handling of the situation was, subpar at best. I've taken a couple PR classes myself, and he did not handle it well. Connor Jones he was suspended a race as well for it, but, man, just a terrible way to introduce yourself to the NASCAR field. Terrible season statistically, and even worse with his fellow competitors. That's an easy F-. Dunce, you can call him. Next, we have descendant of racing royalty. Grandson of Richard Petty, Thad Moffitt made his Truck Series debut in 2024, and it was bad. It couldn't get much worse bad, but it did. Since his performance was so bad, the team literally died. It shut down, and the team he raced for afterwards let him go after the first playoff race. That's just how bad it was. And he only returned for a one-off start at the end of the season at Phoenix, and good grief, in 17 starts, Moffitt recorded only, you ready for this? You're going to think I'm going to say top 5, top 10, one lap led. No, one top 20 all year long, meaning an 18th place finish at Darlington. 0 laps led, which goes without saying, and only 3, count them 3, a trilogy, have you, of lead lap finishes and an average finish of 28.9. Just an abysmal season that I don't think people ever knew happened because it was just that bad. And honestly, I know he's only 24, but his racing career might almost be over before it even begins with a season like that. F. Now we have our first driver who, at least at the start of the season, was going to attempt all the races. I guess Thad Moffitt was going to, but that was never a realistic dream. But Ty Dillon, you just can't kill the man. I actually predicted he was going to make the playoffs off of points in 2024 in the Truck Series, and man, don't I look like an idiot. It's not like the ride was bad either. It made the playoffs in 2023 and won a race like the year before. But Ty is just, it's just that good. After 18 starts and only scoring 2 top 10s and 10 laps led, he was fired. To only be picked up for a cup ride in 2025, what is this? How does that even make any sense? The dude failed upwards after laying one of the most disappointing turds in recent NASCAR memory. He might have moved up in the racing world, but I'm still failing him all the way down here in the Truck Series. This is an easy and obvious F. Matt Mills got a ride at Nice Motorsports equipment that made the Final Four in 2023. Even a bad season's fringe playoffs, still at least competitive, right? No, he only mustered 1 top 5 and 2 top 10 finishes, along with only 6 lead lap finishes this season. Yes, okay, yes, he was vehicularly manslaughtered by Connor Jones in Miami. That did result in injury, but overall, this season was a complete failure. He does come back in 2025, I guess, but man, 2024 was just awful. F. Timmy, Timmy,
Timmy!
you hurt me. You finally had a full time ride and decent equipment that yes, you scored top tens in before, and you go out and do that? One top 10, that's it? I mean, I honestly had low expectations, but I mean, 3 to 5 top tens, maybe a top five, a top 20 points finish? I mean, that was easily possible with this season, but no, it wasn't. And you even DNQ'd. You didn't even qualify for a race at Talladega in modern NASCAR? How is that even possible? In fact, you were knocked out by Methuselah of NASCAR, Norm Benning, by over 3/10 of a second. 3/10. That's a lot. You were outqualified by Norm Benning. Norm freaking Benning on pure speed. How? Timmy hasn't announced 2025 plans at the time of recording this video, but I don't even know if he's coming back full time again. I mean, why would he? I mean, look what he did. Just a miserable 2024. F Timmy. Bad Timmy. Our final F is going to another Nice Motorsports driver, and that is Bailey Currey. Again, I already said this organization was a disappointment, but similar to his teammate Matt Mills, I really thought this was a fringe playoff team. I mean, good equipment, but gosh, it was so much worse. He was better than Mills in that he scored more top 20s and was top 20 in the points at season's end, but he was just a no-show all season. I mean, honestly, recall to yourself, if you remember Bailey Currey on the track. You don't. No one does. And further, unlike Mill, he's been let go by Nice. I mean, he was technically better, but gosh, I mean, we're comparing Michael Waltrips to Corey LaJoie's here. I mean, what do you want from me? Just a terrible season to forget for the Curry F. To start off the D's, we have a surprise here for those who at least follow the truck series. For those who don't, you don't even know who this is. But Jake Garcia had an extraordinary sophomore slump in 2024 with a theoretically better team in Thor Sports Racing. I mean, in 2023, he kind of just appeared and started getting results with 9 top 10s, 3 top 5s, and 13th in the points. I mean, this guy could make the playoffs in 24, but after replacing Haley Deegan in the 13, he only mustered 2 top 10s and 17th in the standings. Maybe the talent behind the wheel isn't the problem with Thor Sports' 13 car, but that's only a NASCAR theory. This season is not an F in my opinion because he is returning in 2025, but man, it is so close to just being a complete failure this season, but there's always 2025 for Garcia. See if he can rebound. D-. Next, we have Chase Purdy driving for Spire Motorsports, a competitive team that scored 3 wins and had a driver make a deep playoff run in 2024. So how did Purdy do in comparison? He sucked. Essentially, he was a no-show, scoring only half of the statistics he did the season prior. This was his chance to break out this year, but he just didn't. His teammate did, but we'll talk about him later. Heck, this is another terrible playoff prediction for me because I had him making the playoffs in 2024, but he wasn't even remotely close. Outside of 2 good Martinsville races, the season was just not the worst season imaginable with 6 top 10s and 2 top 5s, but at least he gets to come back in 2025, right? Right? Oh no, they axed him. Never mind. His career might already be over. F. Look, a surprise F. You don't really see that often. I want to fail Tanner Gray so bad, but he does just enough, like the bare minimum every season just to tread water. He is the Mendoza line of the truck series, and in some ways is similar to Bubba Wallace because his stats keep getting slightly better every year, but gosh, it was just a disappointing season. And at least Bubba has won a race, but Gosh, Tanner Gray can't buy a win to save his life or make the playoffs for that matter. I mean, Bubba can't really make them either, but he's made it once before, so. But Tanner can't do anything successful to save his life. And what's even more embarrassing is that his little brother just blew him out of the water this season. His brother didn't win because of, well, Christian Eckes at Martinsville, but he was that close to making the Final Four. And he got promoted to the Xfinity Series in 2025 for his efforts while driving the same equipment as Tanner. I mean, Gray's coming back for, gosh, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His sixth full-time season in good equipment, championship equipment for 2025. So having a ride and a good run at Charlotte last season, just, in my opinion, just enough to stave off complete failure for Tanner Gray. Just, will he do anything? D-. Now, when I heard there was going to be a new team called Freedom Racing centered on America for the 2024 season, I was ecstatic. My patriotism was through the roof. This team was founded by perennial underdog Spencer Boyd and the carcass of whatever GMS Racing was. I had low, very low, stupendously low expectations for this team. And they met them for most of the season. And then, just like the American Revolution, they surprised me. The team scored 2 top 10s and a top 5, which were Boyd's first in years. They also completed most of the laps and didn't seriously wreck any equipment. So, I mean, all in all, this is like their Saratoga. I mean, for year one at least. I mean, still a terrible season. I mean, when compared to everyone else, I mean, being last of the full-time drivers in pretty much every conceivable statistic. But, I mean, D, I think that's fair. I think that's fair for America. 2025 is going to be just that little bit sweeter. Freedom! Have you ever wondered how mummies are made? Well, funny enough, there are many different ways of doing it, and one of those methods involves essentially turning someone into a raisin using the power of the sun. I say all this because you are witnessing, that's right, you are witnessing that very phenomenon right before your eyes by watching Matt Crafton race. Listen, let me level with you. He is a 3-time Truck Series champion, in my opinion, a future Hall of Famer, but he is years, and I mean years overdue to retire. Every year he is just a little worse than before, and this year he finally missed the playoffs. In fact, I looked through his stats. This is his worst statistical season since 2002. If you math good, that was 22 years ago. People have been born, graduated school, and started careers during that time. It's also his first sub top 10 points finish since 2006. I mean, like that, like boom. I mean, that's some crazy consistency, but whew, it's not the worst season, I guess, in the world compared to other drivers, but knowing who it is, being Crafton, I can't give him better than a D for Nosferatu. It might be time to buy the crypt, Matt. It might be time. Stuart Friesen, in my opinion, is an enigma. He has talent behind the wheel, but maybe not so much under the hood. This team seemingly just struggles with Toyota, and he has never really found his footing with them. That's now two consecutive seasons, 2023, 2024, of missing the playoffs. And though there were some statistical improvements this year, I mean, honestly, outside of those who know and watch the Truck Series, he just kind of faded into the background. And the end product was honestly just all the same from 23 to 24. D. For our last D driver, we actually get to discuss a playoff driver, surprisingly, and, well, who could it be? It's Ben Rhodes. You know it's Ben Rhodes. After body slamming Grant Enfinger to win the 2023 title, Rhodes was expected to continue winning, competing, usual racing things. However, 2024 was the opposite. No wins and career statistics so bad they are only comparable to his rookie season. 8 years ago, in 2016. Wow, he's been here forever. Now, to his credit, for a championship defense, he did make the playoffs, only be eliminated in the first round, and was a crazed Eckes away from winning the fall Martinsville race, but outside of that, it's just a sad season for the two-time champion. I can only do D+. To start off our C's, we have someone who honestly put up statistically a D season, but he did it in just dumpster equipment. Literally, it's a dumpster with four wheels on it. Wallace Allen drove for Aon Brothers Racing in 2024 and put up decent numbers, and pretty much all of them were at non-super speedway tracks. His playoffs were terrible outside of a fifth at Talladega, but yeah, not bad. I think he met expectations for the ride. I don't recall where he's going in 25, but yeah, decent season, C-. Now, this next guy has had some redonkulous hype behind him. I mean, he won a bunch of races in the ARCA series when Connor Zilisch wasn't racing, but it was enough to get him a full-time Xfinity ride in 2025. So how did he do in the trucks this year? Not very good at all. Like, at all. Honestly. I mean, he got one pole and a best finish of 11th in 10 starts. Also wasn't in terrible equipment either, at least when compared to the hype given to him. So, I mean, middle of the road, I reckon, for William Swalich. C. Sadly, we have Brett Holmes, who was putting together a sophomore surge, honestly, with better stats just across the board. But those results sadly were not enough to keep his family-run shop open, and sadly, they had to miss the final 3 races of the year. I mean, thankfully they went out on a high note with the 9th at their home racetrack at Talladega, but man, you just hate to see these kind of things happen. I hope Holmes comes back in 2025 because he had a respectable season in 2024 and really has some honest-to-God talent. Hope to see him back on the track in 2025, but until then, for 2024, C. Our final C goes to Tricon Garage driver Dean Thompson. Now, his stats did improve greatly in many categories compared to 2023, but it was definitely nothing remote to his teammate Corey Heim. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Tanner Gray's teammate is Corey Heim. Yeah, that's the comparison. That's the equipment Tanner Gray is driving. Gosh, I just wanted to fail. You know what? I'm making this video. Tanner Gray gets an F. F for you, Tanner Gray. All right, back into Dean Thompson here, who is honestly like the Lloyd Christmas of NASCAR right now when he drives up in the motorcycle to pick up Jeff Daniels. Because, well, sadly, when your teammate's Corey Heim, usually you're going to get judged for that. And, well, he was bumped after the season's end. But like I just said, like Lloyd Christmas, he got an Xfinity ride out of it.
And totally redeem yourself!
So, you know what? All right, Thompson, I'll be a little more generous with you. Good on you. C. Now go make it to Aspen, buddy. Our first B goes to another darling / victim of overhyping by none other than the Fox Sports broadcast booth, and that's Daniel Dye. Honestly, almost every pass he completed made Michael Walter just salivate. I mean, if you were watching these races, it was ridiculous. And it was just weird and annoying. I mean, just like Michael. You get what you get, I reckon. However, Dye did start to live up to some of the hype. Compared to his rookie season, it was in many ways night and day. He made the playoffs off of pure consistency of all things. That consistency left as soon as he made the playoffs and was eliminated in the first round, but honestly, not a bad second year. With maybe another season or two, he may be ready to move up to the Xfinity Series. So he was promoted to Colleague Racing in the Xfinity Series. So honestly, Dye, still a good season in 2024 overall. B-. Well, you surprised me this season, Rajah Caruth. Your bookends of the season were just great. You won a race and made a deep playoff run. Don't look at the dip in performance in between. There's nothing to see there. But unlike his teammate Chase Purdy, Caruth made massive strides in 2024 and is set for another go-around in 2025 where, honestly, I think he can make some serious noise. Great effort. B. Seriously, don't look at the middle of the season stats. Well, if you thought Tyler Ankram's career was dead at the beginning of this season, you wouldn't have had a unique opinion. Outside of his surprise win in 2019, he has just kind of been meh to bleh. However, in a surprise turn of events, Ankram turned it around. Didn't get a win, but man, put up career numbers in pretty much every category and made a deep playoff run of all things. All right, Ankram, the hype train is still alive. It's got no wheels and it's not on the track, but it's still alive. He returns in 2025 and He seems to be on the precipice of a breakout. I mean, I'm not going to jinx it or anything, but not much else to say. Great job this season. B+. Now for your Rookie of the Year, we have Lane Riggs rounding out the Bs. He had some big shoes to fill at front row this year, replacing former champ Zane Smith, and for the first half of the season, those shoes were so big, he couldn't even live in them. Haha, jokes aside, however, the back half of the season was fantastic. He missed the playoffs, but stole 2 wins during the playoffs in dominant fashion. He was so excited he dislocated a shoulder while celebrating, which, well, I mean, no one has ever seen that before, so good on you. He did something I've never seen before, or anyone else for that matter. He had a fantastic second half of the season and a sad half of the first season, so, B+ for Riggs, who looks real good heading into 2025. Good job. Now, starting off for A's, we have Nick Sanchez. Woo! You did it. You made an A. You're the first to do so. Sanchez's season started off with an absolute banger by winning at Daytona. He would also score another win at Charlotte, and for most of the season looked like the consensual third best driver. However, even with some strong finishes in the playoffs, he just kind of slowly faded into the background and barely missed out on the Final Four again. Now, his rookie season was good, but this season was much improved and, well, at least he wasn't punched by Matt Crafton. I mean, with maybe another year or so, he might even get a call to the Xfinity Series. So in 2025, he's going to the Xfinity Series to race for playoff caliber big machine racing to replace Parker Kligerman. But until 2025, though the end of the season was a bit lackluster, it was overall a very good season. A-. Now we're going to discuss 2 part-time drivers who received notable A's for their accomplishments. First off, we have the obvious one, Caden Honeycutt, because he was the lone bright spot for Nice Motorsports in 2025. Outside of Ross Chastain coming down to the Truck Series and winning a race, but Honeycutt showed what this team can really do. In only 14 starts, Honeycutt scored double the top 5s and top 10s than his 2 full-time teammates, and scored a 19th place points finish, which was good enough to be ahead of Matt Mills and only 1 position behind his teammate Bailey Curry. With his performance in 2024, he's going to drive again for Nice Motorsports, but this time full-time in 2025, and so A for A, great job. Our other part-time driver getting an A this season is someone I didn't know existed until he was on the track, and that was the young Dawson Sutton. He was the driver who replaced Ty Dillon after he was, dilling around in the Truck Series this season. And in Sutton's first start, that's right, think about this, his first start with the team, he scored the team's first top 5 finish on the year, and honestly ended up performing well for the rest of the season, with half the amount of top 20s that Dillon scored in only 7 starts, compared to Dillon's 18. With this showing, he'll be driving for Rackley War Racing in 2025. Just awesome. Great job. Got yourself a job there. Ayy. Next, we have the other Gray brother, the good one. In his sophomore year, Taylor Gray did everything but win. Similar to Tanner, but in a good and productive way. Remaining consistent and making a deep playoff run and, being essentially an Eckes away from making the Final Four and winning a race. He also made starts in the Xfinity Series for JGR for Joe Gibbs, which were very impressive and landed him a full-time ride in 2025 for the team. I have nothing really bad to say about the guy. Outside of not winning, he showed sportsmanship, especially after Eckes ruined his season, and more than doubled his stats from a year ago. A. Next, we have our first driver of the Final Four. It's the always stupendous and rightful 2023 champion. It's Grant Enfinger! If you had a nickel for every time a team has let go Grant Enfinger after making the Final Four,
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Heading into this season, Grant had been picked up by a perennial backrunner CR7 Motorsports, and I thought that might have been it for his career. But thankfully, I was dead wrong. He returned. Slowly and with much heartbreak, a lot of heartbreak early in the season, he pointed his way into the playoffs and was a bad strategy call from being eliminated in the first round, but You know what? He limped into the round of 8, and you know what he did? He won. That's right, he won, and he didn't win once, he won twice. He smoked the competition 2 weeks in a row, regardless of evil Christian Eckes trying to wreck him at every turn, and he kept winning and made it to the Final Four for the 3rd time in his career. And then the clock struck midnight, and the competition was just a little too strong. I mean, he was good at Phoenix, but just not enough in 2024 to get that first championship. But he's not dead. He is not dead yet. And he's going to return for another go-around 2025. And considering his career was pretty much dead and over at the end of 2023, this is a fantastic season. A+. Entering this season, I think the odds-on favorite for the title had to be Corey Heim. And he might have been a smidge less consistent than last year, but my goodness, it was hard to stop him from winning, collecting a series-high 6 wins, which is more than a quarter of the schedule. He easily made it to Phoenix, but just didn't have the car to win it all. To add to the pain, he oddly wasn't promoted after this season to at least the Xfinity Series and will be returning to Tricon for his 3rd season in 2025. And we'll talk more about what that means for Heim going forward, but, you know, he might not have won the championship, but he certainly collected the most trophies. A+. In 2023, Christian Eckes came up short for the title, but in 2024, he came up short again. But he put on a whale of a show doing it. No joke, like honestly, had the most consistent season I can ever remember in NASCAR's top 3 series. He won 4 races, scored 15 top 5s, 22 top 10s, was the only driver to lead over 1,000 laps, and had a 5.4 average finish. I mean, those stats are just insanity. However, things started to unravel in the final 4 races of the season. At Talladega, he had multiple run-ins with Nick Sanchez spinning him out at one point. At Miami, he ran over Grant Enfinger, nearly costing him the race. And at Martinsville, well, you know what happened. He didn't need to win the race, but he made sure that no one else was going to win it by costing Taylor Gray a Final Four spot and Ben Rhodes a win. Luckily at Phoenix, Gray is a good sport and didn't retaliate against Eckes, but it just seemed that Eckes' time was short. And at Phoenix, his run finally came to an end as he could not keep up and finished 3rd out of the Final 4. He moves up to the Xfinity Series, rightfully so, in 2025, but the end of last season just left a bad taste in my mouth. Still an A+ season, a season of all time, honestly, but he's going to have to clean it up in 2025. I mean, have you seen how big Austin Hill is and how hard he punches? Ugh. Finally, Ty Majeski, your 2024 champion. He had an unexpectedly slow start to the season, but as the season progressed, he just slowly climbed the ranks. And by the time the playoffs rolled around, he was definitely the number 3 driver behind Eckes and Heim. Throughout the playoffs, he was just quiet. Not spectacular, but did enough to make it to Phoenix, which historically been a really good track for him, and just smoked the competition. He was in an absolutely different zip code. Heim was the only one that could almost keep up with him, but honestly, he was far and away the best at Phoenix, capitalizing where others did not. It has been a roller coaster career for Ty Majeski, but it has finally paid off in a really feel-good championship with the 2024 season. And just congrats to Ty Majeski, your 2024 NASCAR Truck Series champion. A+. There you have it, all the grades for the NASCAR Truck Series in 2024. Tell me in the comments if you agree or disagree and why I'm hating on Timmy Hill so much. But until next time, I've been your host, Brendan Bryan. Have a good one.